EWEB, and I want to walk us through the purpose of tonight's agenda and make sure you know what to expect so you can all decide for yourself if this is really where you want to spend the next couple hours of your summer evening. So I want to make sure everyone's expectations are clear about what we're going to cover and how the agenda logistics are going to work. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is it's an information session. So it's to provide a more in-depth, detailed information about radio frequency transmissions to the EWEB Board of Commissioners in front of you to help them make a future decision about modernizing equipment and moving to remote read smart meters. The purpose of this meeting was scheduled in part in response to a request from Dr. Dart and his colleagues to give a presentation to the board about their research findings as presented to the board in June. It was also an opportunity to respond to the board's request for a deeper dive and more in-depth information about RF technology. So we're doing both of those things tonight. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. And again, just wanted to talk about expectations on the agenda. So this is an information session only. So it's not like a normal Tuesday board meeting at the boardroom. This means that there's no public comment period tonight. So I do want you to know that there will be extended opportunity for public input at our August 6th board meeting. So that gives us more time to reflect and think about what we're hearing tonight and come to the board and share those thoughts at that point. It also means that the board will not be entering into any deliberations tonight about whether or not this is a good or a bad idea or taking any action. In fact, we have postponed board action on this entire project until the fall to give everyone some more decision space. It creates at least 2 more opportunities for the community to share their reflections on tonight's meeting and for us to continue to do our learning and information gathering. So tonight, we'll get to hear from 2 very qualified subject matter experts and to learn more during the Q&A session between the board members and each of the presenters. My role here tonight is to act as a moderator, and it's mostly so the board can fully participate and they don't have to manage the meeting. So we have an information-rich agenda. And even if everything goes perfectly with the technology, I think we're in for a little bit of a long evening. So I'm going to ask for your patience and your cooperation so we can get through this and move very efficiently and productively through tonight. So for us to do that, it's a shared responsibility. I can't get up here and manage the entire meeting with everybody in here by myself. So I'm going to ask you all to help me make sure this is a productive and effective use of time. And that means that we're going to be gracious to both our presenters and to be courteous to those around you. So I'm going to run through some other logistics really quickly and then go over tonight's agenda. So on those green pieces of paper, you have kind of a tentative agenda of how the presentations are going to work on the front and the back, and there's more back there on the table if you need them. So I'm going to start with a little bit about, I'm not calling them ground rules because if you're a meeting facilitator, ground rules are shared. You know, you go through and you agree as a group. So if we don't have time to do that, I'm going to call them asks. So here are my asks. And to be fair, everyone's part of these asks. So for the presenters, here are my asks. My asks are that you pace your presentations so you can finish them in the allotted time, and don't get mad at me if I cue you that you need to kind of work through it because we need to finish it. And then my other ask to presenters is to provide concise responses to the questions from the board so that we can get through as many questions as possible. I'm sorry if I'm going to here. Okay, now my ask for the board. So I'm asking you, board members, to be very succinct in your questions and hold them till the end of the presentation. We'll be doing rounds so that with the goal of each board member being able to at least go through 2 rounds for each presentation. And then tonight is not for deliberation, so I'm going to ask you to avoid offering opinions and commentary about the project and really use this time to gather information and to be asking clarifying questions. And for the audience, we want to create a safe and respectful environment for everybody who's here tonight. And that means that even if you have strong feelings about what you're hearing or you completely disagree with one of the presenters, I'm going to ask you to hold those to yourself and to not be calling out and disrupting folks. That just makes it hard for other folks to hear, and it creates an environment that feels disruptive and unsafe to other people. So those green agendas have note cards, so if you just really feel like you have to get something down, just write it down, and we'll collect those at the end of the meeting. This room is really echoey, if you can tell, so when you have side conversations, it makes it hard for other folks to hear. So if you feel like you need to take a phone call or say something to a neighbor, you can just please walk outside and take care of that business. And if you don't want to stay for the whole evening, I totally understand. Just feel free to excuse yourself whenever you need to. So the ask for you is to help listen respectfully and help remind your neighbors that that's the agenda for tonight and that's our purpose for being here. So we're trying to create a learning environment, and I'm hoping that each of us, even if you feel like you've already made up your mind, you learn something new and you have some takeaways from this evening's presentation. So, agenda, very quickly. Logistics. So why are we here? This is unusual. We've never had a public meeting in this room, and there's a very good reason for that, and that's because of the room size, the setup, easy parking, and the audio visual is really set up well for this so that everyone can hear. So that's our purpose for being out here tonight. The thing about this room is that this is a secure facility. So it's not easy for us to basically invite the public in. So there's signs for the restrooms, and if you see staff and barriers that say no public access, that's why. Not that we don't want you to enjoy our facilities, just because it's a secure facility. So restrooms are out and around the corner, and there'll be staff that can help you find those if you need to. There's water on the back counter, so help yourself to that. And I'd like to really just get rolling, so here's what we have planned. We have about an hour for each presentation and that includes Q&A from the board. We'll have a brief technology break because our first presentation, the presenter's not here, they're actually on the East Coast. So we'll have a little bit of a break as we transfer between those two presentations. And then around 7:30, we'll have a stretch break because you're going to want to, I'm sure. After the presentations, the board will have another 15 or 20 minutes to do any follow-up or clarifying questions to either presenter. And then we reserve 15 minutes if we have any mental energy at the end for staff to close out tonight's meeting with an overview of the timeline and the next steps. So just a reminder, we have extended the timeline for this project, so if you can't stay, welcome you to come to the August 6th meeting, and then we'll be talking about this again sometime in October. So with all of that, that was a lengthy introduction. Thanks for your patience. I'm going to turn this over to President John Simpson, who's going to introduce our first speaker tonight. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Janine.